Hey everyone, I'm so sorry I'm late. Didn't notice the time. Time for a story. Thought we'd maybe just start and work our way through this. It's a big old book of ancient myths. Okay, let's see how long this one is. 7. Okay. Time to begin. By the way, this is the Curious World of MrRay. I'm your friend and host, MrRay. Really hope you enjoy today's live stream. It was the time of primal chaos, a time when the earth was new and undefined. Arid deserts and black bubbling volcanoes covered by swirling clouds of gases scarred the grim visage of the newborn world. It was as yet a time of the great void. Then into that oblivion, from the dull dark heavens, there came a trickle of water. First one drop, then another and another, until finally there gushed a mighty torrent down upon the earth. The divine waters from heaven flooded downwards and soaked into the arid dirt, cooled the volcanoes which turned into grey granite mountains, and life began to spring forth across the earth. The dark, reddened skies grew light and blue. From the darkened soil there grew a tree, tall and strong, Danu. The divine waters from heaven nurtured and cherished this great tree, which became the sacred oak named Bethel. Of the conjugation of Danu and Bethel, there dropped 2 giant acorns. The first acorn was male. From it sprang Dagna, the good god. The second seed was female. From it there emerged Brigantu, or Brigand, the exalted one. And the Daga and the Brigid gazed upon one another in wonder, for it was neither their task to wrest order, for it was their task to wrest order from the primal chaos, and to the people of earth, with the children of Danu, the mother goddess, whose divine waters had given them life. So there, by the divine waters of Danu, from where those waters rose and flooded through the now fertile green valleys of the earth, eastward towards the distant sea, the Daga and the Brigid settled, and they called the great course of eastward rushing water after the mother goddess, which is the Danuvis, whose children still know it as the mighty Danu. And 4 glowed in the room. 2 armies had gathered for combat. Hang on. Have I missed a page? Yep, I missed a page. And 4 great bright cities they built there, on the broad banks in which the children of Danu would live and thrive. Hey, how's it going, Besnick? How you doing? You keeping well? Did you? I got that link that you sent me, by the way. That's fantastic. Thank you, bud. Sorry, I better keep on reading the story, eh? The 4 cities were Phalius, Glorious, Phineus, and Maurius. The Daga became their father. Thus humankind called him the father of the gods. And Brigid became the wise one, exalted in learning, and much did she imbibe from the mighty Danu and from Bethel, the sacred oak. She was hailed as the mother of healing, of craftsmanship and poetry. Indeed, she excelled in all knowledge. She showed her children that true wisdom was only to be garnered from the feet of Danu, the mother goddess, and so only to be found at the water's edge. Those who gathered such knowledge also paid deference to the Bethel, the sacred oak, because they were not allowed to speak his holy name. They called the oak Drowi, and those learned in such knowledge were said to possess oak Drew knowledge, vid, and thus were known as Druids. Very interested. The knowledge of the children of Danu grew, and each of their 4 cities prospered. In Phalius, they held a sacred stone called the Leafael, or Stone of Destiny. Oh, we've got that now. Scotland has it. I've actually seen the Stone of Destiny. There you go. which when a righteous ruler set foot on it, would shout with joy in glorious where Urias of the noble nature dwelt. They held a mighty sword called the Retaliator, cool name for a sword, fashioned before the time of the gods themselves, and which Urias presented to Lau Lamfuda. Some of these names, I'll tell you what, who became the greatest warrior among the gods. In Phineas they held a magic spear called the Red Javelin, which once cast would find its enemy no matter where he hid. And in Morris they held the Cauldron of Plenty, from which the Dagna could feed entire nations and it still would not be emptied. For many eons the children of Danu grew and prospered in their beautiful cities. Then one day Dagna, father of the gods and brigand of the exiled one, called their children to them. You have tarried here long enough. The earth needs to be peopled and needs your wisdom to advise and direct them so that they may live lives of virtue and merit. Our mother Danu has directed you to move towards the place where the bright sun vanishes each evening. Why should we go there? Demanded Nadu, the favourite son of the Dagra. Because it is your destiny, replied Brigid. And you, Nadu, shall lead your brothers and sisters and their children, and the land that you shall come to will be called Isenfal, the island of destiny. There you shall abide until your destiny is fulfilled. If it is our destiny, said another to the Dagon's sons, named Ogma, then we shall accept it. Ogma was the most handsome of the children of Danu. From his long curly hair, the rays of the sun shone, and he was called Ogma Gring Ansieg, of the sunny countenance. To him fell the gift of honeyed words, of poetry and languages, and he it was who devised how man would write in a form of calligraphy, which was named after him as Ogam. Brigid smiled at her eager children. I am allowed to give you one word of warning. When you reach Isenfall, you will find another people who will claim the land of destiny as their own. The people are the children of Danu, who is the sister of the mother Danu. But beware, for Domu is not as Danu, for each sister is the inverse of the other, as winter is to summer. Then Nadu said, should we take something to defend ourselves, with less the children of Domunu fighting us for the possession of Isenfall? The Dagda gazed at them kindly and replied, you may take the 4 great treasures of the cities of Phalius, Gorius, Phineas, and Morius. And the children of Danu took the treasures, and they went to the mountains overlooking the headwaters of the Davinus, the divine waters from heaven, and ascended in a great cloud which bore them westward to Isenfall, the island of destiny. And among them were 3 beautiful young sisters, who were wives of the sons of Ogma. Their names were Banba, Fotla, and Eir, and each sister nurtured an ambition that this new land of Isenfall would one day be named after her. Night wrapped her darkened mantle over the Magna Durith, which is called the Plain of Towers, which lay in the west of the land of Isenfall. On each side of the great plain, separated by the river Unis, myriads of small campfires glowed in the gloom. 2 armies had gathered for combat. 7 years had passed since the children of Danu had landed in their cloud on the shores of the island of destiny. They had fought initially with a strange race of people called the Furbolg, who challenged them and their right to rule the island of destiny. There they had met at the pass of Beltagan, and the conflict went on for 4 days. And in that conflict there came forth a champion of the Fireblog named Sreng, who challenged Nadu, the leader of the children of Danu, to single combat. So strong and mighty was Sreng that with one sweep of his great sword he cut off Nadu's right hand. But the Furbolg and their king Enoch were defeated and dispersed. Dien Siat, the god of all physicians, came to Nadu after the battle and fashioned him an artificial hand of silver so strong and so supple that it was little different from the real hand. Thus did Nadu receive his full name, Nadu Arkinlach, of the silver hand. Because he was maimed, the other children of Danu had to choose another of their number to lead them, for they had been told by Gribrigand that no one with a blemish must rule them. In choosing a new leader, they made a disastrous choice. As an act of consolation between themselves and the children of Dominu, they chose Bres, son of Elath, king of the children of the Dominu, who was also known as Fomori, or those who dwelt beneath the city of the sea. And to further consolidate the alliance, Dien Shiacht married Ethne, the daughter of foremost Fomori warrior named Baloch of the One Eye. And the condition was that if Bris did anything which displeased the children of Danu, then he would abdicate and depart in peace. Those years marked a period of strife. Bres, being a Fomori, refused to keep his word and began to lay heavy burdens on the children of Danu. For while Bres and the children of Domu, the children of darkness and evil, dominated the land, and the children of Danu, the children of light and goodness, were helpless as slaves. Then finally, Mach and the son of Dianshiat, and aided by his sister, the beautiful Ermid, fashioned a new hand of flesh and bone for Nadu, and his hand replaced Dianshiat's silver one, and now, without blemish, Nadu reclaimed the leadership of the children of Danu. So jealous was Dianshiat of his son's achievement that he slew Miach, but that is another story. Nadu chased Bres back into the land of the Fomori, where Bres demanded that Elatha, his father, provide him with an army to punish the children of Danu. Thus, on the plain where ancient megaliths stood, thrusting their dark granite skywards, Magturith, the plain of towers, on the evening of the feast of Samhain, the 31st of October, so Halloween, the children of Danu faced the children of Domnu in battle. At dawn, the battle commenced. Combats broke out all along the line as Nadu led his warriors, both male and female, against the warriors of Bres and the Fomari. Across the battlefield, the Morrigan, great queen of battles, with her sisters, Bada, the crow, Nemen, the venomous, and Fi, the hateful, rushed hither and thither with their wailing cries which drove mortals to despair and death. As time passed, indeed, the Fomari warrior approached Bres and pointed out that whenever the children of Danu were slain, or their weapons broken and destroyed, they would be carried from the field and shortly after would appear alive and well again with their weapons intact. Bres summoned his son, Randun, and to his side and ordered him to discover the cause of the endless supply of weapons. And he summoned the son of Enich, a warrior of Octaralach, that's a tough one, Octaralach, to discover how the children of Danu, once slain, would come alive again. Disguising himself as one of the children of Danu, Ruadan went behind the lines of warriors and came across Goibniu, Goibniu, god of smiths, who had set up a forge to one side of the plain of towers. With Goibniu were Luchtain, god of carpenters, and Cridain, god of bronze workers. As each broken weapon was handed to Goibniu, the smith god gave it 3 blows of his hammer, which forged the head. Luthen gave the wood to the 3 blows of his axe, and the shaft was fashioned. Then Cridain fixed the shaft and held together with his bronze nails so swiftly that they needed no hammering. Rugdan went back to his father and told him what he had seen. In a rage, Bres ordered that his son kill Goibniu. In the meantime, Octilrach had found a mystic spring on the other side of the plain of towers, at which stood Daenshacht, the god of medicine, with his daughter Armid at his side. When one of the children of Dunu were slain, they were brought to the spring, and Daenshacht and his daughter plunged the body into the spring, and it re-emerged alive again. In a rage, Brecht ordered Octrich to destroy the healing spring. Rudan returned to the forge and asked for a javelin from Gobineau. That's a heck of a name. Who gave it without suspicion. Yeah, could I have a consonant for that name, please? It's entirely made of vowels, apart from the G at the start. It's crazy. No sooner was the weapon in his hand than Randan returned and cast it to Gobineau. It went clean through the smith god's body. Mortally wounded and as he was, Gobineau picked up the spear and threw it back, wounding Rudan, who crawled away back to his father and died at his feet. The Fomori set up a great coin, or keening, which was the first ever heard of in Ireland, in the island of Destiny. Gobineau, who also crawled away and came to the spring where Daenshacht and Armid plunged him in, and emerged healthy and healed. That night, however, Octrich, son of Indeek, and several of his companions came to the spring, and each took a large stone from the bed of a nearby river and dropped them into the spring until they had filled it, so that the healing waters were dispersed. Brecht, satisfied that the children of Danu were now mortal, and angered by the death of his son, determined that the pitched battle should be fought. The next morning, spears and lances and swords smote against buckle and shield. The whistle of darts rattled, and the rattle of arrows, the shouting of warriors made it seem as if a great thunder was rolling over the plain of towers. The river of Unis, which cut through the plain, was stopped up, so filled was it with dead bodies. The plain was red with blood, so cruel was the battle. Indeed, each of the Fomori, held by the hand of Ogma and Indich, was not the first nor last of the leaders of the Fomori to feel the steel of the children of Danu. Neither did the children of Danu go away from the battle unscathed. To the field of slaughter came Balnar of the Evil Eye, son of the Brunich, the most formidable of the Fomori champions. He had one great eye, whose gaze was so malevolent that it destroyed whoever it looked upon. So large and awesome was this eye that it took 9 attendants using hooks to lift the mighty eyelid open for Balor. It happened on that fateful day of the battle that Balnar came on Nadu of the Silver Hand, the leader of the children of Danu, and hard and fierce was the contest. Yet in the end, after shield was shattered, after spear was bent and sword was broken into pieces, it was the blood of Nadu that gushed in never-ending streams into the earth of the Island of Destiny. And not content in this slaughter, but Balor turned upon one of Nadu's beautiful wives, Makia, the personification of battles, goddess of warriors, and he slew her also. Nor did Daenshacht have the means to restore life to them. At the death of their leader, the children of Dunu wavered and became fearful. It was then that Lau Lamfada, Lau of the long arm, approached the battle. Now Lau was the son of Sian, which means enduring one, who was in turn son of Siante, the god of speech. Now the council of the children of Danu had forbidden him to come into the battle, for Lau was all-wise and all-knowledgeable, and it was thought that his life was too valuable to risk in battle, for his was a wisdom needed to serve humankind. Indeed, so wise was Lau that Nadu had let him become the ruler of the children of Danu for 13 days in order that he might receive his wisdom. Therefore the children of Danu had him imprisoned for his own safety during the battle with 9 warriors to guard him. But on hearing Nadu was slain, Lau escaped his prison and his guards, and leaping into his chariot, he hurried to join his brothers and sisters in the plain of towers. Bress was standing triumphantly with his Fomori warriors when he saw a great light in the west. I wonder that the sun is rising in the west today, he muttered, scratching his head. One of the Fomori shamans approached Bress, trembling. It is not the sun, mighty Bress. The light seems to come from the countenance of Laulum Fada. This is his radiance. Lau, with his weapons sheathed, drove the chariot out from the lines of the children of Danu. Straight he drove up to the tightly packed lines of the Fomori champions. Where is Balor? He cried. Let him who thinks himself a great warrior come forward to be taught the truth. The lines of Fomori parted, and the great figure of Balor was seen, seated in the gigantic chair. His one mighty eye was closed. Hi everyone, I'm just going to check the chat for just a second. Hey Besnick, how's it going? Pickle, how's he doing, buddy? Yeah. It's really fascinating stuff. I am going to have to talk more about the history of Scotland and Japan, and the history of Scotland and Japan, because they're all interested, you know. But I better continue on with the story. Lou's challenge rang out again. This time Balor heard it and said to his attendants, "Lift up my eyelid that I may gaze upon this prattling little man." The attendants began to lift Balor's eye with a hook. They stood well out of range, for anyone whom the eye fell upon would perish immediately. Lau was ready with a sling, and then set it in Tatham, a slingshot made of blood mixed with the sand of the swift Amaronian Sea. As the lid was lifted, Lau hurled his shot into the eye. It struck it, went through the brain, and out the back of Balor's head. The great Fomori champion's eye was knocked out and fell on the ground. In its dying glint, thrice 9 companions of Fomori warriors were destroyed for what they saw in its malignant gaze. Balor fell screaming to the ground in blindness. A great anxiety fell on the Fomori. Lau now raised his sword, and the Morrigan set up a paean of victory. Kings arise to the battle. And so the children of Danu took heart, and echoing the song, they began to move forward. Great was the slaughter now as they pressed back on the children of Domnu. It is said that more Fomori were killed on the plain of the towers than there were stars in the sky, or grains of sand on the seashore, or snowflakes in the winter. And Lau came upon Bress, who was fleeing for his life from the battlefield. "Spare my life, Lau, great conqueror," cried the son of Elenith, sinking to his knees, for he no longer had the strength nor spirit to fight. "Spare it, and I will pay whatever ransom you require." "What ransom?" demanded Lau, his sword held at the throat of the Fomori leader. "I will guarantee that there will be no shortage of milk from cows of this land," offered Bress. Lau laughed. Lau then called the children of Danu to him. "What good is that if Bress cannot lengthen the lives of the cows?" they demanded. Bress could no longer grant lives, so he offered, "If my life is spared, every wheat harvest in Ifsenfall shall be a good one. We already have enough good harvests. We need no other guarantees." Finally, Bress agreed to instruct the children of Danu as to the best time to plough, sow, and reap. For this knowledge, which they had not, they spared his life. And when the battle was over, when the Fomori were pursued back into their undersea fortress, and they accepted the right of the children of Danu to live in peace on the island of destiny and rule over it as gods and goddesses of goodness and light, The Morrigan went to all the summits of the highest mountains of the island, and on each summit she proclaimed the victory of the gods and the goddesses of light and goodness. And she sang in triumphant voice a paean to the mother goddess Danu. Peace mounts to the heavens, the divine waters descend to earth, and fructify our lives. Earth lies under the heavens. We are of the earth now, and everyone is strong. And while Danu smiled on the victory of her children, her sister Domnu scowled from the depths of the earth, and she chose the goddess Bada the crow as her mouth to utter a prophecy to Danu and her children. All life is transitory. Even your children are not immortal, my sister. The time will come when they will be defeated. The time will come when no one will want gods and goddesses to nurture them, when they will be driven into the darkness like my children have been this day. The time approaches when the summers of Ifsenfall will be flowerless, when the cows shall be without milk, and the men will be weak, and the women will be shameless. The seas will be without fish, the trees will be without fruit, and old men will give false judgments. The judges will make unjust laws, and honour will count for little, and warriors will betray each other and resort to thievery. There will come a time when there will be no more virtue left in the world. Fuck, man. Feel like we're kind of getting close to that already, don't you? Eh? Indeed, there came a time when the children of Mifel flooded into the island of Destiny, and when the children of Danu were driven underground into the hills, which were called the Selid, which is pronounced she, and in those mounds they dwelt the once mighty gods and goddesses, deserted by the very people who they had sought to nourish. The descendants of Mifel, who live in the island of Destiny to this day, called the children of Danu the Aes She, the people of the hills. And when the religion of Mifel was forgotten, when the religion of the cross replaced that of the circle, the people simply called the Aes She by the name of the fairies. The Fae. I happen to know that. It's bad, isn't it? Of the greatest of the gods, the victor of the battle of the Plain of Towers, Lua Lamphada, I'll get that right one day, Lua Lamphada, god of all knowledge, patron of all the arts and crafts, his name is still known today. Yeah, Lua, but Lamphada is a hard one to remember, though, for me anyway. It's still known today, but as the memory of a mighty warrior. The invincible god has faded. He is known only as Lua Cromin, little stooping low of the she, relegated to the role of a fairy craftsman. And it is even the language in which he was venerated has disappeared. All that is left of the supreme god of the children of Danu is the distorted form of the name Lucromin, leprechaun. So, that's the end of the story. I really hope you enjoyed the story of the ever-living ones. I will finish things off with a couple of little readings from titular CJ Hun. So good to see you. How are you doing? You're doing good, are you, Pickle? Yeah, that was an Irish story I just told. There should be plenty of that you're familiar with. You'll need to send me the phonetic way of how you pronounce those names. Because I'm dyslexic. I can barely read at the best of times. So, reading Gaelic names isn't so straightforward. But if you could send me the phonetic names for them, Pickle, that would be great. CJ, I'll just want to say it's so lovely to see you. Thanks for dropping out. I'll catch up with you soon, okay? But before we go, a couple of little random quotes from the Little Book of Abuse. I used to be schizophrenic, but we're okay now. Well, this day was a total waste of makeup. I'm so happy I could kill. I'm sorry if I looked interested. I'm not. I'm not your type. I have a pulse. One for the necrophiliacs out there. I don't know what your problem is, but I'll bet it's hard to pronounce. What would I do with you, apart from be happy? I will always cherish the initial misconceptions I had about you. There we go. That should be enough to keep you going when you can't choose kindness. But, as ever, I want you to remember, whenever possible, to try and choose kindness and stay curious, my friends. See you on Friday for a watch along and some ukulele. Take care, folks. Bye.